All right, let's dive into a really unique way of thinking about wealth. We're talking about building something that lasts, not just for you, but for your kids and even your grandkids. And the framework we're looking at suggests the secrets to doing that might actually be thousands of years old.
So, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll tackle the big problem: why so many families lose their wealth. Then, we'll unpack a fascinating model for assets from way back when. After that, we'll get into the stuff you can't see, which is maybe the most important part. And we'll wrap it all up with a blueprint you can actually use. Okay, so let's start with a reality that's, kind of painful but super common for families trying to build a lasting legacy. You've probably heard that saying, right? Shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. It's a real thing. But what's interesting is that our source material says the reason isn't just about bad investments or overspending. It's about having a totally wrong framework for what wealth even is in the first place. Now, this is where it gets really cool. The solution proposed here involves looking back, way back, to 5 core asset classes that were talked about in ancient texts. It's all about translating these timeless ideas for the world we live in today. So first on the list is cattle. Obviously, for most of us today, this doesn't literally mean buying a herd of cows. The modern translation is any kind of productive business that solves a real long-term need for people. The key idea here is that these businesses, just like livestock, have a natural built-in way of multiplying. They grow. They're not just static piles of cash. Whether you're talking about something like food production or a manufacturing plant, a cattle asset is something that produces what people consistently need, which means it has the potential to scale up. All right, next up, gold and silver. This one's a much more direct translation. It's the age-old, tried-and-true way to protect the value that you've already worked so hard to create. Now, according to this blueprint, these kinds of assets, they aren't for crazy, aggressive growth. That's not their job. Their job is to be the anchor. They're the financial bedrock that protects your family's buying power when things get chaotic, with inflation or when currencies get devalued. Okay, this next one might sound a little jarring at first, but stick with me. It reframes a modern idea in a really powerful way. The ancient asset of servants is translated to employees. The argument here is that the ultimate goal for a family building for the long haul shouldn't be just to hoard wealth. It should be to become a creator of opportunity. This is a huge mindset shift, right? It's about moving from being just a consumer to being a producer, an employer, who's actually adding value to the whole community. Let's move on to land. This one's got a really powerful double meaning in today's world. It's about a lot more than just the dirt under our feet. So the principle here works for both the physical and the digital. Physical land needs to be productive. Think apartment buildings, farmland, that kind of thing. But in our modern economy, sometimes the most valuable land is actually intellectual property, patents, software, or maybe the unique systems that make your business run. Both are assets that have real, enduring value. And finally, we get to water. Back in the ancient world, it was literally the most essential thing for survival. In this modern blueprint, it represents the lifeblood of any family business or enterprise: cash flow. The philosophy here is so clear and simple. A single well can, and often does, run dry. A family that's built to last can't rely on just one source of income. It's about always digging new wells, creating more and more streams of cash flow. And just as critical is teaching the next generation how to find and dig their own wells, too. But here's the kicker, and the source material is absolutely emphatic about this. All 5 of those material assets, they are guaranteed to fall apart if they're not built on a super strong, non-material foundation. I want you to picture these as the deep, deep roots of a giant tree. They're what allow your family's wealth to grow tall and survive the storms. These are the why behind the what: your family's shared values, a commitment to learning, strong relationships. The source basically says, without this anchor, any money you have is just going to drift away. Let's look at a super simple example from the text that shows how this works. By sticking to this principle, child A learns that being diligent gets you rewarded, and child B learns a really crucial lesson about consequences. And look, this isn't about punishment. It's about building character. Character that's going to serve them their entire life, in business and everywhere else. Okay, so we've talked about philosophy, we've gone back to ancient wisdom, but how does all this stuff actually translate into an investment strategy? Let's check out how the source recommends building a portfolio around these very ideas. You can see how this portfolio reflects those ancient principles we just talked about. Look at that,
A full 40% is kept highly liquid. That's your water, your cash flow, ready to jump on opportunities. Then, the rest is divided up into your cattle and your land, your own businesses, property, and other ventures that are all designed for that long-term productive growth.
And this really brings us full circle, doesn't it? The whole point of this framework is that it's not just about stacking up cash. It's about weaving together your financial capital with your human capital, your family's shared values, their education, and what you all want for the future.
And the source leaves us with this powerful idea. Look, this isn't about needing millions of dollars to get started. It's about adopting this generational mindset and just beginning with whatever you've got, right here, right now, with a focus on building something that's going to outlast you. So, I think the big takeaway is this. Building generational wealth isn't really about what you leave behind in a will. It's about the businesses, the stable assets, the opportunities, the values, and the income streams, the wells, that you create today. And that leaves us with one last really vital question to think about.